a week to 10 days, I had $4 million. I used to stay up on the natural until I was through, until I had all that money. That money was my high. That was a natural high to me to have that kind of money. You know what I'm talking about? That's what kept me up. I didn't use cocaine. I didn't do none of that. You know what I'm talking about? It was just that thrill is like the endorphins in you just keep you up. I wouldn't go to sleep until all the product was gone and the money was there. Then I would crash. It
was like being on a drug.
Money was the drug. The money, I was addicted to money. That's what it was. I was addicted to money by the influence I got from my uncle and them, seeing them with so much money. That influenced it. And he didn't want me in the game at all, my uncle. He wanted me to be a lawyer, but
that's Reginald Doc Davis, along with his brothers. They might be the closest thing to Frank Matthews to exist in the black underworld. In the late 70s, they were the only black people that made the DEA's International Heroin Trafficker Top 10 list. Product from Pakistan, Thailand, Turkey, Amsterdam. Sometimes they would mix it all together. And at the same time, they were supplying Detroit's two most infamous street crews, Pony Down and YBI, who were working out of the same bag sometimes, which was the Davis brothers. And I have I've put up parts of this interview edited, and there's kind of a long version with some other stuff. I moved over to my Al Prophet Clips channel, if you want to go check that out, with pictures and all that kind of stuff, and me and him out in the field. But this is Mr. Davis's unedited, just raw interview, and actually it has the end, which I've never showed before, of how he got into trouble, well, of how the legal case unfolded. But I want you to pay attention. This is really worth watching. The most maybe surprising and interesting thing I've learned in interviewing and having access and being sometimes friends and good friends with some of formerly America's biggest black gangsters, are that a lot of them, like Doc Davis and the brothers, came from upper middle class or better backgrounds. They were not driven to crime by poverty by any stretch of the imagination. So I think thinking about them and what they do, what they did, is says something about America. Obviously, being black at the time they were coming of age, maybe opportunities for ambitious people were truncated, but why they went into what they did is an interesting topic. I don't think people of the general overall capacity, skill set of, say, like Reginald Doc Davis or Courtney Brown Sr., Beyond Street Dreams, a new doc coming soon. I don't think guys like that necessarily I don't think they go into the dope business these days, or they haven't for quite some time. Their personality types, their intelligence. Not to say that people that are going into it don't have charisma and intelligence now, but they're from lower socioeconomic backgrounds where you're just less skilled. Doc Davis dropped out of college to be a kingpin.
He gave me the game. I started off with 1 teaspoon. I went with 1 teaspoon and wind up selling keys. Well, we were a close-knit family. It was a close-knit family. But we had our uncles that was involved in the drug trade. That's who introduced us to the drug trade. At first, they didn't want us in the drug trade.
What did your parents do?
My parents, they was upset. My parents, she was just a housewife. And my father was an intern, exterior decorator for Ford Motor Company. 4 half-brothers and sisters and 10 biological. My father was an intern, exterior decorator for Ford Motor Company. He retired. He's passed now, God bless his soul.
He's in a nice job.
Yeah, he had a very good job. He the one taught us how to paint, but that wasn't my forte. I was doing other things. On Longfellow we moved in the early 60s. And we stayed in a affluent neighborhood. It was the Boston Edison Association.
Oh, you grew up in Boston Edison district.
Right.
So Dad was doing quite well.
Yeah, my dad was doing very well. Yeah, we was probably one of the few blacks in that area at that time. Besides other doctors and stuff, you know. So it was a 25 room house. It had 5 bedrooms, maid quarters, 3 kitchens. It was a big house. Plus he has his own contracting company. He was a painter. He also painted homes and he did roofs.
This is not the tale of poverty driving anybody to do anything. This was growing up.
No, it was influence. My uncles inspired me because I used to see them go into Coffee Cadillac, and I used to see them get 3 Cadillacs, and they pay cash for it. It was 10,000 back then.
What year?
It was in this. It was in the early, the mid-60s, and they used to walk in with cash, and they ride off with 3 Cadillacs. That impressed me. And then what really impressed me, when I saw him with all that money, I saw him with a pool table full of money from one end to the other, stacked high. And I couldn't understand where that money come. I was so young. And I thought money like that come from when you rob banks. And he said one day he was going to show me where that money come from, because he wanted me to go to college to be a lawyer. You know? And I couldn't understand that, like I told you yesterday. I couldn't understand that because they hadn't passed the 6th grade. But I understand it later what he was saying. He wanted me to become legitimate. He wanted me to become a professional and become a professional lawyer, and maybe that can help the family. My mom was born and raised here. My father was from Hollandale, Mississippi. And my mom's people was from Dayton, Ohio. So they met here in Detroit, Michigan. And they was married ever since his death. From, I think she was like 16 or 17 when she married.
Oh.
And through that marriage they had we had 10 children, 5 girls, 5 boys. And he was married before that, and he had 2 girls and 2 boys.
And he's broad.
Yeah, so it was 14 of us.
And he had the support.
Well, yeah.
And he still could afford a 25-room house.
Right.
Quite a businessman.
Right. He was a smart guy. He was a very good hustler. He hustled 2 or 3 jobs. You know, and plus he did homes. He painted homes, and he did the roof for homes.
So your uncles are involved at a high level in this.
It was the mixed jive days, the John I. Erskine. John Erskine was the marketplace for mixed jive. That's where everybody came. That's where Eddie Jackson was. Everybody was there. Mixed jive is a mixture of raw pea, quinine, and dolmens, and it come in a pack. And people used to come from all over Michigan to this area of John I. Erskine to purchase that.
And they weren't coming to spend $20.
Well,
some people were, but if they were coming from all over, they were taking it back and selling.
But they were no. That was the marketplace for the users. The users would come there and they'd spend $20, but they would do this starting at early in the morning to late at night, and different organizations was making anywhere from 100,000 to 400,000-500,000 a day, just selling 20s. Selling mixed jabs. Huge amount of traffic. It was just crazy. It was just cars coming and going.
Obviously, the police can see this.
Well, I don't think the police might have been paid off because they wouldn't even mess with them. I mean, they even had the shooting galleries. We called shooting galleries back then, where you go and shoot the stuff. They would purchase the stuff down there. Some would shoot it down there, and some would leave and go to other suburbs. And we had it was a lot of people from all over coming. So all nationalities,
So around right after the riot, maybe late 60s, when was your first foray? Like, what was your first day in the drug business?
Well, what happened was, I got double promoted. I went to college when I was 16. I went to Ferris State. My minor was business administration. My major was law. Okay, I was supposed to be a lawyer. But when I got to that fork in the road, instead of going to the right, I went to the left.
Because what was that? What exactly was that fork? What?
See, what happened was when I used to see my uncle there with all that money, it fascinated me. And they kept pushing me and say, go to college and you had the same kind of money. I couldn't understand that. I just couldn't understand it. then because I was so young and I wanted that money. So I eventually left college and I hid from my parents. I hid from my uncle. I hid from everybody. And I had rented a room down on at 281 Erskine. I rented a room and I started doing my own thing with another friend of mine who was my best friend, who is passed, God bless his soul. He passed. He used to use. I didn't know he used.
Secret.
Certainly he used. And he went to Ferris with me. He had a scholarship for playing golf. He was a very avid. He was a good golf player.
So your whole social scene, your family, your friends' family must have been like Detroit's black elite.
Yes, and I would see. We had so many family members. We really didn't really hang on the block or hang with the people. We party among ourselves. And if we did go out, we would go out with, I would have maybe 10 different goons with me when I went out, you know.
In your teenage years.
Yeah, my teenage year, like, I used to go to 20 Grand sometimes to see the dramatics. I used to like the dramatics. In fact, I used to give them after parties after the performance. Because I had another place down at the Regent Square Apartments where Stevie Wonder lived, downtown. And it was just a bachelor pad. And I would just have a party for them once they got through performing.
When you set up at that hotel, what did you had went and bought what, house, or how did that all?
No, but see, the Regent Square apartment was apartments.
Well, no, when you said you set up at 281 Erskine.
In 281 Erskine, I just had a room. And in that room, I had one girl staying in that room. And I used to have the customers come around to the window. And I had a guy who would keep, my stuff was so good that I had a guy to keep them from a long line leading to that window. He would keep them at a bay. And he would get their money and bring it to the window. And the girl would slide the package through the window to them.
Where, if you were hiding from your uncles because they didn't want you doing this, where did you first initially get supplied?
I got supplied from the guy, my best friend, who used. I started off with a teaspoon.
Why did he have such a good supply?
He didn't know. Wait a minute. Now, he didn't have a supply. He was a user. He gave me the game. I started off with 1 teaspoon. I wound up with 1 teaspoon and wind up selling keys. See, back then it was called Mexican mud. You know, that's why, and I was introduced to a young lady I knew. I was introduced to some Mexicans in Mexico. The Frank Morales. His name was Frank Morales. He was federal Raleigh.
Mexican Federal Police.
He was the Mexican Federal Police. So I would fly in, me and Tom McCarry.
How did you, well, let's back. Who was this girl? What year is this? Like, how did she know a Federale?
Well, she knew the Federal Raleigh from her boyfriend. And you mentioned a boyfriend yesterday.
Oh, shit. Way back then.
Yeah.
What year was this?
This had to have been the 70s.
Or like what? Like early though? Early
70s.
Because you started doing your thing maybe 69, 70.
Not really 69. I was in college between 69 and 71 maybe.
So 72 maybe.
Yeah, 72, 73. That's when I was in the streets. And
how fast did you elevate from having the spot to...
See, what I did, I elevated fast. Because what I did was, first I hid from everybody. I hid from my mom, my uncles, and all them. And I was using my best friend's source. I was buying teaspoons. And I would take them teaspoons and I would turn it into mixed jive.
And what type of markup?
Well, I was putting maybe 10 quinine, 5 dormant, about a 15.
So like if you spent $100, what did you make? $1,000?
Right, but eventually I built my money up to about $60,000.
Just
and once my uncle found out where I was, and he said, if you want to be in the game, I'm gonna give you the game. So he took me with him to Cali to his connect.
How old were you?
I was about 17, 18. About 17.
So you're at 18, you had 2 years of college under your belt.
Yeah, I had my associate's degree. I got my associate's degree. And
you already you had money from the street, and then your uncle takes you
to the connect, to his connect. It was his connect. He took him to his connect, and he introduced me to his connect. And so I spent the money I had, I spent it along with his money. And then what I did, instead of taking my money buying Cadillacs and girls and jewelry and all that, I kept putting my money back in. So eventually, I grew. Eventually, I was copping more than my uncle now. So after that, after this girl introduced me to Frank Morales, and I had my own plane. At that time, I had my own plane. I had a Cessna 441, pressurized, whole seat 9. I started flying into Durango to see Frank Morales. But we would, like I told you, we would drop under the radar when it didn't sweep. See, now they sweep after 7-11. They start sweeping the border. Before you can make your flight plan from California, from Michigan or Chicago to California. And once you get to California, you drop below. So you drop below and go over, and I always go fly right into Durango and go straight to Frank Morales' home and then do my thing. You know,
How do I need a pilot at that young age? You was
I made a pilot. I met that pilot through. I met it through one of my mutual friends. I met the pilot. He used to fly. He was a scout pilot for the Air Force, and he used to fly for Ray Charles. He flew privately for different people, but the main people he flew for was Ray Charles, and he flew for somebody else. I think it may have been the Prime Minister of Bahamas. I can't remember, but he was a very good pilot. He was a scout pilot for the Air Force, and what we would do, we would fly into Durango. When we fly out, they got a little black book, the pilots, and in that little black book, it's got a million little bitty airports, and a lot of them airports late at night are closed. You can fly in and land,
and no one knows.
Nobody's there. It's closed. You can go out, but you can't go back in. So we used to have people waiting for us, like, at that. We'll pick a spot, maybe outside of Pontiac somewhere, or a spot. We'll pick a spot to be in, and that person would pick us up, and then we go from there to Detroit, and then we did distribute the.
So you would land in Metro or at City.
See, what I would do. Sometime I would go with him. I was intrigued with the flying your own plane.
You're like,
which is, is nothing to be proud of, but. I was intrigued with the whole thing. But what he would do, he would fly in. His flight plan was to land in Chicago or Detroit. And what he'd do, he will find one little airport that's not manned, there's nobody's there, it's closed. It used to be like 12 midnight. And we used to fly in. He wouldn't stop, but he'll stop just enough for me to get out. And once I get out, I would get out with the suitcases, and then I had somebody waiting for me on the outside of the airport. And then I would get in the car and ride to Detroit.
What was interacting with this Frank Morales like? It's like walk us through. You land in Mexico and you go to a federale's house to get heroin.
Right, and that
Literally the deal. Like what was that?
Oh, he had a real nice house too. It's like Beverly Hills. He had the gates and the nice.
Tijuana or
no? It was a Durango, Kuyakan in Durango.
Oh, Kuyakan, that's the capital of Sinaloa. That's or the Sinaloa cartel.
Yeah,
they were going,
but they wasn't Sinaloa cartel back then.
No, but it was Sinaloa State.
Yeah.
So you were going to Sinaloa, Kuyakan. Kuyakan is the city where El Chapo's son. They just tried to take him into custody. We were going there in the early 70s.
Right.
And getting Mexican heroin directly from a Mexican federal.
Right. Yep. Then I would bring it back here and sell it, And then eventually I became so big, my uncle and them started copping from me. Yep.
So you were the most ambitious.
I would see what I do with it. I went into the fame of having nice cars and the jewelry and hanging out. Although I used to have the Jaguars or Mercedes, and guys used to tease me and tell me that they say, "Look at Doc at that old man's car," because I was like 10 years ahead of everybody.
Oh, they were still doing the big Cadillac.
They were doing Cadillacs, Deuce and Quarters and all that. They didn't understand Jags, Mercedes, and all that. You know,
So that's for, so you're like 19
I was ahead of everybody in the
with
gang.
Jaguar. Doug, you said you bought a house at 17?
Yeah, I bought, no, I was about 18. I bought a house in Parma Woods, 1311 Belmore Drive. That was my first house I bought. I bought it from my attorney. He the one that built it. And I bought it. Zena should have a picture, boys.
Wait a sec. So at 18, you bought your lawyer's house in one of Detroit's most expensive neighborhoods.
Right, in Parma Woods. And then I learned how
I
to
didn't know
play.
it was true. I would think you went on.
Yeah, listen. Then I learned how to play golf. Chris was the pro over at Parma Woods. He taught me how to play golf. But I never was a good golfer.
So you were really in the street scene of being seen in Detroit.
No, I was invisible. Like if you would check the records, they call me the comedian because I was so invisible. I mean, I would hang out in the streets. Like I said, we had a big family. If we wanted to party, we party among ourselves. And when I wanted to party, I used to go out of town. Every 4 months, I would roll like 4 months and stop like 2 or 3 months because I had my stuff was so powerful till I would shut it down and then couldn't nobody do nothing until after we was out. So I wasn't a greedy guy. I never been a greedy guy. So I would I would leave and let other guys make money.
So this is like mid 70s, late
Right,
70s.
right, 70s.
When did things start? Did you feel like things started to get a little hot in terms of like a law enforcement attention? Did you ever?
I think, okay, this was my intention. This what I think that why they put me on the top 10 of North America is when I was charged with importation on the plane, importation into the country. And I think that's when they
Well, tell us this.
I was in Jamaica. I was overseeing stuff. Really, I didn't get caught with anything. I just took the blame again like a crazy man. I took the blame. I didn't get caught with nothing. I was just overseeing everything. But when that certain
You're posted in Jamaica.
well, yeah, I had a villa in Jamaica. We used to stay at the Orange Shore Villas. You know, I used to live in Jamaica. That's when Manley was in office. I used to live in Jamaica.
Dexter Man or
Yeah.
Dexter Mike.
Right. And then I knew a Jamaican nationalist named Dwight Johnson. And then I knew the Porter brothers, who was the import and export. They had the import and export company. They lived in the Red Hills up in the mountains of Kingston.
So you were interacting with the Jamaican elite.
Right. I was interacting with the Jamaican elite. Absolutely right. Manley and all them. That's why they blackballed us after Manley got out. When Siegel got in, they blackballed my family from coming into Jamaica.
Oh, so you, because yeah, people, and then that whole posse thing and the wars and those.
Right.
People don't know that's a political. That all started as Siaga versus Manley
Right.
fighting on the ground.
Right.
Who was going to vote at the polls?
Right. And so Seattle won with American support.
CIA.
Yep. So once he got in, they blackballed us. My family couldn't go into Jamaica.
So did that lead to that arrest or to that?
No, the rest was getting back to Miami. Okay, I was overseeing some in Miami, some coming in. They valued at $20 million, but you know how they exaggerate.
Where was it coming from?
It was coming from Bangkok. No, I was moving through Africa and Jamaica, and then sometime I got stuff directly out of Pakistan. Tell you, I met the Thai kid there. I got to say, my father taught us when we was very young fishing, and I love fishing. So I went from fishing in the river to sports fishing for marlin and sailfish and like that. So one time I was in Bahamas. The Bahamas have a tournament for marlin. Whoever catches the biggest marlin win $300,000. So when I get in, I used to rent the villa. Once I rent the villa, I go to the fishing port, and I would pick a boat. And then my favorite boat was the Hatteras sports fishing boat with the tuna tower. So I would pick the boat, and so usually they take groups. I didn't want to take the group. It was like a 40-some foot Hatteras sports fishing boat. I hired the whole boat. So when I went there, the same guy was trying to rent the boat for him and his wife, and he happened to be a Thai. So what I told him, I said, well, why don't we just share it? So me and my wife and me and him, we shared it. And so we became friends. Once we became
Hey,
friends,
what are you doing for a living?
right, then that's how it started. And then he was the man in Bangkok.
Was he connecting with the government, Bradley?
Yeah, he was government connected because I think we had to have the papers. The papers I had for the importing of the rice, I think we had the government would had to be involved. He was telling me, but we had set it up and all. But those
Did any of those successfully go through?
no. Listen, what happened was when I got arrested in Miami, the briefcase.
Sex or something?
I forgot what year it was, but it was in the 70s. But I had in my suitcase, in my briefcase, I had all the paperwork. I was getting ready to sign. We was getting ready to do it. We was getting ready to get the Black Star, the lines out of Ghana. We was gonna refinish them.
Whose idea was that?
My idea.
So for I know what it is, but tell the average person what was the Black Star line?
The Black Star line was Martha's Garvey had started trying to ship blacks back to Africa. And when that didn't happen, they just the ships just stayed and dried up.
Because the U.S. government wanted to shut down Marcus Garvey, so they actually did
He was on the hit list. Marcus Garvey was on the hit list.
Yeah, they used the Black Star line and said he defrauded people.
Right.
They actually put him in jail for that.
Right,
So the ships all went into dry dock.
right. So I was gonna take them out of dry dock, refinish them, and I was gonna ship rice. I was gonna, like I say, I was gonna ship rice from Thailand to England to the Caribbean to the United States. So once I got arrested, all
It on you?
it was a fluke. See, I knew something was wrong when the plane. We was supposed to land in Philly. I had somebody in Philly to take the stuff off the airport. I mean, out of the off the plane, the luggage off the plane, and then take it home, and then I get it because I had my Thai connect would take the big Samsonite luggage, and he would make the stuff inside the luggage. So I had connects in St. Croix that did the same, and I had connects in Philly. But when I knew that plane landed in Miami, I knew something was wrong.
Oh, it wasn't supposed to stop.
No, it wasn't supposed to stop. It was supposed to go from Jamaica to Philly.
Non-stop.
And they was waiting on me in Philly, non-stop. It stopped in Miami. I knew something was wrong then.
Where were you at? And you were in Jamaica.
Nope. I was on the plane. I was overseeing everything.
Oh, you weren't going to grab the luggage, but you're just...
No, nothing. I had ladies to grab.
But you were on the plane to just...
Oh, it was C. I was overseeing everything.
So they come and take you off the plane?
Yeah, they came and took us all off the plane. And then...
So you never took possession of it. Nobody did.
No, what happened was they took the luggage. They knew. Somebody had to tell them because they took the luggage. Then they took it in the back room and they drilled in it. And they poured out, and then they assessed the substance. It had to been about 20 keys, not keys, because I keep
Pounds?
pounds. It was about 20 pounds of 97.4 pure Heroin number 4.
Which, I mean, back then, a kilo, by the time it went down to dimes, you what, $500,000 on the street.
Well, they exaggerate.
You weren't selling in the street, but by the time
I was selling at the street, I was selling wholesale. Well, they say it was worth 20 million. You know how the United States government do. They exaggerate.
You got a $48,000 fine in Arizona for some weed right now.
Yeah, they exaggerate. So what it was, the Samsonite luggage, it had lady clothes in it. So they knew, so they asked whose luggage this was. After a while, after they poked the thing in and found out there was heroin in it. So I said, it's mine.
You took this.
I took it again. I 3 times I did this. I say it's my luggage. So they arrested me. And then I had a charge for importation into the country, importation with the attempt to distribute, and importation on the plane. And Robert Mann at that time was our personal lawyer, and he had them change that because that's 2 charges. It's the same importing on the plane and importing to the country. So it was 1, 2, and 3. So he got rid of 2, and then he made him say 1, 2. So he didn't want the jury to know it was a 3rd charge left. So we went to trial on it, and we won.
How? Okay, so if you say that's mine, how the hell do you win at a trial?
Because I took it to trial.
Like, but what was the grounds to beat it at trial? If you
They didn't believe me. What I said was, let me see. What I said was when we went to trial, I said I had met these white boys in Hollywood that approached me to pick up some luggage in Miami. That's how I think I got out of it. I came up with a story. I said they approached me to pick up some luggage in Jamaica.
so you played
No, I played the victim. I say they told me to pick, they was in Jamaica vacationing and they had some luggage and they wanted me to take the luggage. You know what I'm talking about?
Where did this trial occur?
This trial occurred in Miami.
Okay, so where were we at? The trial. Oh, okay. So you told me how you
I concocted the story that I met somebody in Jamaica that wanted some luggage back. So I got some girls to take the luggage back for them.
Boy, that doesn't sound plausible today. How'd you get it?
Oh, no, what I'm saying, let me get back to that part. Back then, I looked so young back then. I looked so young in the way I carried myself. And then every time the prosecutor would say something derogatory about me, I would shake my head like that. And in fact, he told the judge, say, will you tell him to stop shaking his head? Because the jury believed me. The jury believed, this is what the jury believed, I think. This is just my philosophy. I think the jury believed because I looked like I was about 15 or 16 back then. The jury believed that how can this young guy be involved with $20 million worth of heroin, some stuff coming from Bangkok and all that. They didn't believe the story that the prosecutor was trying to say. They believed man's story. And then I played the part because I wore the same clothes every day to the jury. I was like just,
You were out on bond.
Yeah, I was out on bond. They gave me bond.
An expensive bond? But the jury wouldn't have been allowed to know that anyway.
I can't remember the bond.
So you weren't.
There's a bond expensive doing. I can't remember the
Were
bond.
you on the federal radar at that point, or
That's when I was on the federal radar anyway. But remember now, I was on the federal radar and I moved to California and I moved half my family to California.
Oh, before his arrest.
And we had a manufacturing company and all that in California. And then I moved my sister. They was going to college out there and everything. So
they knew who you were, but you had no arrest yet. So
I had no arrest. You remember we had beat the government 5 times. 3 jury trials. This was the first instance. I think this was the first time. There was a second case in Miami.
Okay, so that happened right after that?
The second case in Miami was involving my mom.
Tell us about that.
Well,
As much as you want.
Joe, I don't
Did they charge her or something?
Yeah, they charged her. And in fact, she went to jury trial and she won. And we had an aunt that testified against us. We had an aunt that testified against us during that trial.
But they didn't,
God bless her soul. She passed now, but God bless her soul.
they didn't believe.
No, they didn't believe it. They believed my mom and Man. See, Man is a very good trial lawyer.
Hey, tell us about who was black guy, white guy? Man was
a black guy. Steve Fishman was a white guy.
And Man was a former football player?
He was a former Lions football player. Yes, he played for the Lions.
And so he became one of the country's top criminal defense attorneys.
Yes, he was a good lawyer.
Did you know Eddie Jackson's lawyer,
What's his name?
Milton Henry?
I knew of Milton Henry. I never used. I knew Fista as a tax lawyer. He used to be an internal tax.
So you guys, Eddie Jackson, you guys were going, I mean, you did even better than him, but you guys were going toe-to-toe. You were taking these top black criminal defense attorneys and going toe-to-toe with the government and winning.
Yeah, we was winning. Yeah, we was winning. We would hire the best attorneys. If you hire the best attorneys and have the money, it's because the government they be overzealous trying to beat the kids. They do so much stuff wrong. They be sloppy. They just because they used to dealing with peons. But when they get somebody they have a little sense, because we used to always hire the best attorney for anything. Like I told you, we hired Norman Berkowitz out of New York, which is one of the top tax lawyers at that time in the country. They handle our tax problems. You know?
And so the second, you have a second thing with your mom, you beat that. Then what's the third thing?
Okay, we beat my mother's case in Miami. We beat my case in Miami. And we beat the construction of justice. They gave my mother a construction of justice case saying that we quit claim $1 million worth of property for $1 for my brother's bond. And they say that was obstruction of justice. They took her to trial.
How was that obstruction?
I don't know. Don't tell me. I don't know. Because you see, back then you had to do a NEPTA hearing. If you put up a bond of that much, you have to do what they call a NEPTA hearing and prove where you got the money. So
they claim you took $1 billion of the property and
not a
dollar.
Not a billion. We took
$1 million.
Yeah.
And claimed it was worth $1, and then
Yes, you can do that though. You can quit claim and it's
your business.
Yeah.
It's your property.
But they saying we did that to construct justice. So they charged my mom with that, but she beat it.
So you beat
So that was one. There was one we beat.
your mom's other case, and then your
2 cases in Miami involving $20 million for heroin we beat in Miami, Florida. So that's 3 we beat. Then the dismissal of the 57 count.
Oh yeah, so let's go into. So now it's about let's take us to about 1979, 80. That's when they send undercover at your.
No, that's what my brother was telling you about. They had it was called Operation Boat Whale at that time. It was Operation Boat Whale out of Washington, where Nancy Reagan and all them, they had, and it was a feud between the FBI and the DEA. They was trying to get rid of the DEA. And the FBI was trying to take over as the drug enforcers. And they had to prove to them that they had to get some major cases in the United States. So out of I don't know how many cases out of the United States, but I think we was one of the cases out of Michigan that they went after, the DFG group. So
Which they refer to as the Davis Family Gang, which is
the Davis Family Group, Davis Family Gang, whatever you want to.
Sure, you never called yourself the Davis.
We never called it. No, they did that. So
You didn't wear a big DFG.
no, I didn't do all that. We wasn't flashy at all. No, we wasn't flashy at all. You know, in fact, I'm the one that started the button-down shirts, the Gucci loafers, the sweater, and because most drug dealers back then, they had all the diamond rings and and I had the collegiate look, and I had diamond.
You were. I mean, you were.
You're right.
You were collegiate.
Right. That's right. And I had one pinky ring. That's all I had. And then I used to collect watches, and I still do.
So the connection with Sylvester Seal, YBI, Pony Down, all that stuff.
Okay, my brother Ricky was real close to Sylvester Murray, and Sylvester Murray was the head of YBI.
Even though the feds and you considered him the head of YBI, and not Butch Jones.
No, Butch Jones was not only no Butch Jones. I ain't never saw Butch Jones before in my life. But it was before Sylvester Murray was Raymond Peoples. And before Raymond, it was Block, then WW. But
So you guys someone in your group was serving them at times.
right, we were serving Sylvester Murray. Sylvester Murray, the YBI, they was in competition with the Pony Down. They used to bring us $1 million a week, and the ponies would bring $1 million a week.
And this is what, 1988?
Yeah, right. And they was in competition. That's why we was the ones that when they had disputes, because remember there's 300-400 ponies and there's 300-400 YBI, and they go to clubs together and they fight and they have problems and they have problems with women. They be messing with each other's women and different stuff. So we would call a meeting and we resolve that. We would say, look, it's about money. It ain't about this all this ego and pride and all that.
They were getting themselves in the newspaper and making.
Yes, they've been bringing a lot of attention, and attention brings
about murder rate started going up.
Right.
A lot of that with that.
Right.
So tell us about one of these meetings you call, or the meeting.
I call a meeting. I call for me and my brother. We call for Gun, Peter Gunn, and we'll call for Sylvester Murray. And we said, we got to stop these beefs. We got to stop all this. We got to stop because everybody saying they said, okay, they stopped it for a while. They stopped it. They stopped it because they was their bosses. They was the Sylvester Murray was the boss of the YBI, and the Peter Gunn was the boss of the Pony Down group.
Because they were the boss, because they had to connect, which was you. No,
Right. No, see, they were loyal to us because we had to connect. We was getting stuff out of Bangkok. My brother was getting stuff out of Amsterdam, and I was getting stuff out of Pakistan. And we would take that stuff and we would mix it. Once you mix the number 4, the 97.4 pure with the crude stuff, like the stuff out of Amsterdam and from Turkey, really, my brother was getting it from Turkey, and yeah, and through Amsterdam, and I was getting it straight from Pakistan. And when you mix this stuff together, you lock the city down. Can't nobody else sell nothing until it's all gone, because the 94, the number 4, the 97.4 that come from the Golden Triangle is so refined. It's so refined. It doesn't have a hit and all that. But then when you added the Turkish stuff and the Pakistan stuff to it, it's got a hit. It's got the crude stuff in. That's what the dope fiends like balut, like with the coke, like Peruvian flake and the balut. You know, they like that crude yellow cocaine.
Oh, they might.
Yeah, they like to hit. They like to hit.
But then the more refined stuff also kept the high longer or something?
Yeah, it kept the high longer. And
so it was the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so they had the hit and the hole, the legs, we call it. We had here, Philly, North Carolina.
Where in North Carolina?
We had
What city in North Carolina?
Charlotte. We had Greenville. Greenville's and you wouldn't know it. Greenville's smaller than Charlotte, but that was one of the most. I mean, back then it was what we call caps. But Greenville, we got a lot of money out of Greenville. A lot of money.
What? Who else? Well, if they've been arrested, you can say your name. If not, but were there other people copping as much as YBI and Pony Down in Detroit?
No, I had the Muslim mob out of Philly. They was copping a lot.
Who, the who mob?
The Muslims.
Oh, the Black Mafia or Philly Black Mafia?
No, not the Philly Black Mafia. No.
Oh, no, number 12.
No, not them. It was the Fruits of Islam and all them. It was the.
They were copping from you?
Right. At one time, he was coming from me, from Philly. In fact, the Philly guys was one of the ones sometimes would take my family when I was on the run up to Ann Arbor for me to see them. You know, that was one of the Muslim was my best friend. He was my best.
He alive?
You know what? I haven't saw him in 10 to 15 years. I doubt if he alive.
Was that like Sam Christian or right?
No, it was that group. He was in that group. But I didn't want to mention no names, so I don't know. But he was in that group. That was his group.
Wow, so you were
And then I had New York. I had the spinoff from Nicky Bond crew.
Oh, leftover people from the council?
No, after Nicky Bond.
Oh, a guy.
The guy that used to work for Nicky Bond.
Like who? Like Guy Fisher?
No, not Guy Fisher. No.
He's somebody else.
You're somebody else. I don't like mentioning.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean,
because these guys still.
Right. If
these guys still.
Famous, but
yeah,
or not. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's famous. He used to do a lot. You fuck. He used to put 300,000-400,000. I mean, I'll take that back. I'm sorry. He used to win 300,000 or 400,000 at a time because he keep $1,000 a day on this one number, and the mob would pay him, so he was connected. But that's one of the spin-off from Nicky Bond.
So you were supplying
New York, Philly, North Carolina, and it was another city, San Francisco.
And these were just people. Did you ever interact with Felix Mitchell out in California?
No, I've been in his home. Yep.
Would you say you guys are moving on a bigger scale than Felix Mitchell for sure?
Oh, way bigger than Felix Mitchell. Forget about it.
Did he cop for you ever, or?
Yes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my buddy too, Felix. God bless his soul. Yeah, that was a shame where he got killed.
And then they reversed the case. He would have got out. You know that.
Oh, yeah, they reversed the case. It's so sad. Oh, I think it was over road of quarters.
So like $1 a dime, something.
Yeah,
$1.
it was just a gambling debt, and it was
Nothing. The guy was so scared of Felix.
yeah,
He went in preemptively.
yeah, right.
Even though Felix probably wouldn't get be cared less.
Yep, that's why I would never carry myself as a tough guy. And I would tell I had a cousin, he everywhere people was deadly scared of him. In fact, that's how he died. That he was with me when he died. But I was always tell him, stop telegraphing people where you are. That's not to your advantage. It's to your disadvantage to be meek and humble. You know, and you know you live longer. You know.
Walk us into the early 80s when you guys get indicted in the 52 count thing and getting picked up in Ann Arbor and all that stuff. And your brother.
Okay. And my oldest brother, what happened was some agents out of Chicago. At this time, we was all living in California. I had a manufacturing company in California. Like I said, we damn near had a house on every hill out there. You know, I gave you the addresses. So agents out of Chicago came and I had been left Detroit. They came to Chicago looking for the Davis family group. The so-called Davis family group. Okay, at that time, my baby brother knew they couldn't bring nobody that I don't know to me. So my baby brother and my oldest brother, they concocted and created my oldest brother as me. They took the agents to my oldest brother and said, this is me. This is Doc.
What was your older brother, Gerald?
Viral. Nothing happened to him at all. But they beat the shit out of his ass, which caused him to have, I think that caused him to start having an aneurysm. Could have.
Oh,
yeah. And he eventually died of that. He died of a stroke. Eventually, you know. But they beat him up because he messed the case up. Because remember now, they investigated They came looking for me.
So they started interacting with a Davis brother who they think is Reginald. But
right. They did it for 2 years. They took all that information.
And he did make sales.
He made sales. He traded dollars for heroin. He made sales, phone conversations. They took all this information to the grand jury and indicted my name, but not me. They indicted me on a 57 count 848, in which I was in California. Not, you know,
none of the stuff that was when I hear you were involved.
I wasn't involved in none of the stuff here. None at all.
So,
and it was a few guys I still was, you know, looking out for, like the guys out of Philly, and you know, good guy.
So what happened your lawyer tells you turn yourself in or go on the run. Tell us.
Okay, what happened was I was on my way to Italy. My wife,
who was half Italian.
She was born in Livorno, Italy. That was Vito's mother. God bless his soul. Well, just hate to do your thing about that, but anyway, that's Vito's mother. Her name was Michaela. That's Vito's mother. We was on the way to Italy. In fact, I had a ticket and everything. So man came to me first. Someone told us we had to sell indictment. Internal revenue agent who had turned lawyer met me in New York. He said, if you all has a sealed indictment. I said, sealed indictment? He said, yes, your family has a sealed indictment. If you got any property in your name, any property in y'all's name, get it out of your name now, switch it over, and because they're coming after y'all. So he gave us the heads up. There was a sealed indictment. And I was still saying, well, I was still trying to wonder what I thought it maybe been the guys out of Philly or the different other guys that I was dealing with once I went to California. You know what I'm talking about? Or it was the Frisco people. There was some of the Frisco people. You know, it was a girl in Frisco that did have something to do with it. But the Philly guys had nothing to do with it. They stood strong. They had nothing to do with it. So, let's see.
And was this was around the time that YBI got indicted? Did that scare you or no?
That did scare me. But nothing never happened to that. Seal didn't say where I was getting my stuff from the Davis family. He didn't say that. You know, he just took it. Now my other brother knows some other stuff that was involved, but as far as him saying that they was getting stuff from us. Same with Gun, them, they stayed strong. The ponies didn't say they was getting stuff from the Davises. They didn't say that, and I thank them for that. I thank Seal for that, and I thank the ponies for that. You know, but but I was a little upset when I first heard about it because I know, you know, that could have brought me into the indictment, but it did.
So you have the Seal indictment, and you get presented with the choice of turning yourself.
Yeah, well, no, let me finish the story. Okay, I was on my way with suitcases on my way to Italy. Man calls me. The same man said, I need to show you something. So he said, I have an indictment, a 57 count 848 indictment I want you to see. So when man brought the indictment to me, I looked at all the verdicts on the indictment. Every one of them. I said, this is not me at all. I ain't in none of this. So man said, what you want to do? You want me to take you in now, take you in with this indictment and we go ahead and fight it? Or do you want to run? I made this statement now that I wish I hadn't. And then my brother, my brother always told me I should have stayed. If I had stayed, we were in better shape. We'd probably be billionaires now if I had stayed, because we could have used the mistaken my identity thing, and the government knew it was a mistake. Because at one time the government knew that it was Gerald, not me, and they just kept it a secret. They just washed it under the rug. And they always to the court, they supposed to bring all that stuff to the attention of the court, that this is the wrong brother.
Why didn't they charge him? Because they had put it under your name that was too messed up? Or
it was too messed up. They didn't charge him with anything, nothing. He didn't go to jail 1 day, 1 hour. All they did was beat his ass.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's all they did was beat his ass. So, let me see. I lost my train of thought.
Italy.
Oh yeah, we was on our way to Italy. So man told me you want me to turn you in because you got said Diamond, your name here. I don't care if you say you're not on the verdicts, but your name is here. So we got to get this straight now. So what you want to do? So I said, catching this before hanging. So I went on the run. I went on the lam for about 3 or 4 years. So about 3 years, I think it was. So I told man, I said, man, go to the next block. Because I didn't know if they were sitting out front. But I figured, knowing them.
To his office?
No, he came to my house. My home in Southfield. So I figured they was outside. But knowing them, they was at the airport. They knew I had a ticket going to Italy. They was at the airport waiting for me at the airport. So what I'd said to man, I said, man, go to the next block. Go to the next block and I'll be there. So I went to the next block. I jumped the fence, went to the next block. I got in the car. I got in the car with man. I got down on the seat. And man took me to my brother-in-law's. And when I went to my brother-in-law's, I said, look, we got to go. I want you to take me to Hampton, Virginia. I knew a girl in Hampton, Virginia. So I went there in Hampton, Virginia. I stayed a while until I got my mind together and got things together, what I wanted to do. So I stayed on the run.
Was that pretty nerve-wracking?
Yeah, there's a lot of unnecessary, there's a lot of pressure. So then I went from there to Jamaica. I stayed in Jamaica a while, you know.
Does that feel safe?
Yeah, I was safe in Jamaica with Manley there because.
Oh, and Manley.
See, we had a villa there. In the Arnshore Villa. We had a villa there, and Mary Young had a villa right next door. That's why they put me and Mary Young on the red list. Remember the red list they had that they was investigating people illegally, and they had to, and then the Lawyers Guild got behind it and had to, and made them give all the surveillance information. Then we got it all back.
Did they try to link you and Young together?
Yeah, they tried to link Young, saying that we was hooked up with the mayor. We was hooked up with this.
It wasn't true.
Wasn't true. No, I knew Mary Young, but it wasn't true. Wasn't true at all. No. That was just something to make their case sound more sensational. But it was a fact. He did have a villa next to.
How expensive was that?
It was quite expensive. I was getting ready to buy the Arnshore Villa and golf course. It was Arnshore Villa and golf course. I was just getting ready to buy it from a Jamaican nationalist from England. He was from England, but he lived in Jamaica.
How much was that going to cost?
Well, we had to really negotiate the final price, but it was going to be some millions to buy the land, the villas, the golf course.
$6 million or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a little less back then. Yeah.
So Coleman Young had like a $500,000 villa in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Well, let's get more about that. So, okay. So, how did you eventually come into custody?
Well, what happened was when I got off the plane in Miami coming from Jamaica, that's when they arrested me for importation into the country, importation with attempted distribute, and importing on the plane. So after I claimed that the suitcase was a Samsonite suitcase. The tie.
No. How did you bet in the 80s when you were on the run? How did you, the whole Ann Arbor thing? How did you?
Oh, the whole Ann Arbor thing.
How did you in the mid 80s when you had been on the run from like 82 to 80?
Yeah, with someone told the agents here that I frequently comes to the Ann Arbor area and meet my kids around Christmas.
In the end, they really didn't get him for what he did because of a brilliant ruse that him and his brothers played on the government, in which, of course, they knew the government was on them. They were huge. They had kind of slowed down. They had made so much money, they had kind of moved to California and were doing other stuff. I'm sure they were still messing around to some extent, but they purposely, when the DEA came and was starting a case on them, they purposely had one of the brothers, the other brother, who really probably dabbled in some minor crime, but he wasn't Dwayne, or Dwayne is the other main brother that was really doing a lot of stuff with Doc Davis. They had another brother pose as Reginald Doc Davis, and when the feds indicted Reginald Doc Davis, the body they were indicting was actually his brother. So the case was all messed up. The feds really couldn't get him. And then a behind-the-scenes story that Doc doesn't talk about that I know about, because I know John Sutton, that's the black DEA agent that's appeared in different of my documentaries, who came to Detroit in the 70s. He came back to Detroit in like 79 or 80 when the case, in the early 80s, when the cases against YBI, Young Boys, and the Davis family were being created. And he was actually the head of the field office in Detroit at that point. And there was a black agent assigned to the Davis case. And something went on with him when, long story short, that black agent sued the DEA for discrimination. And there was all sorts of internal problems in the DEA around, well, racial things with the agents, and the Davis family probably knew that, and they did some slick stuff. And like I said, they had the one brother who really didn't do a lot of crime be introduced to the feds as Doc. And so when they indicted the name Doc, they were indicting the actions of a different person, and it all fell apart. But they figured out a way to put him in prison for a little while at least. But you'll see that at the end. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Get our profit to 1 million subscribers. Subscribe, and let's enjoy this Doc Davis. Okay, we're getting to the part where if you haven't subscribed, you should subscribe for more content like this. Remember, you can go watch the kind of more heavily edited with pictures and stuff version of this on my Al Profits Clips channel. But now this end part, though, is not in the original one I did. We don't really get into what happened to him and if he went to prison and all that. Now, his brother Dwayne ended up receiving, when they had stuff coming out of Amsterdam, they bought a canning machine, and they were putting H from Turkey and Pakistan into cans and sealing them as if like they were sealed object goods. And his brother Dwayne was somehow I forget how, but the feds had an intercept on one of them, and they caught his brother receiving a package. Doc went on the run. Now, even though they had indicted his brother and thinking it was him, so the case would have been all messed up, Doc figured, why go to court when you don't have to? So he stayed on the run for some years. And they finally caught him in Ann Arbor, #1 college town in America, where I attended one of the 34 elite universities that produce almost all of the people that run America, but it's another story entirely. Doc had his family in Ann Arbor. He came back to Ann Arbor and is visiting them. The bellboy kind of snitched on him for no reason. The guy he would give. See, giving out, being nice to people, being too nice to people will raise some people's antenna. And, well, here's the rest. Remember to subscribe.
And so what they did was they circulated my picture to all the major hotels there. And they say, when this guy show up, call us. And the busboy, who I used to give $1,000 to, I used to give him $1,000 every time he took the luggage for Christmas. He is the one that called him.
I mean, didn't you think giving someone $1,000 tip made it kind of obvious, like this guy's some kind of gangster? He knew you.
Well, he knew I wasn't no rookie man, but I was going there for years. I was going there for at least 2-3 years, and I was seeing just him. He would take care of the luggage, take the luggage out the car, take care of my wife.
He's the one.
Yeah, and he the one turned me in. He the one turned me in.
What do you think? Just,
I don't know, just being a good Samaritan. I know the government didn't give him no $1,000.
well, he shouldn't have. If you want to be a good Samaritan, he should have turned down your dirty money in the first place, right?
Right. He should have turned there. He was going to be a fucking good Samaritan. He should have never accept $1,000. He knew if a motherfucker come to a hotel and give a busboy $1,000.
1983.
Yeah, that was a lot of fucking money back then. You know what I'm talking
It's a month's salary probably for that.
about? Yeah. So, but he was a good Samaritan, I guess, and he kissed their ass and called them. And they probably say, good boy, good boy, good boy, thank you, thank you. And then they came up to Ann Arbor. Remember I told you I was staying in one hotel. I was staying at the Sheridan. My wife was staying at I think it was a Hilton, I think. But I didn't want to be around her because she smoked. My wife used to smoke. She just put the coke in the cigarettes and smoke it. She get a whole carton of cigarettes and do the whole car. And do the whole car. See, I don't know what she get from that anyway. I don't know. But anyway, that's what she used to do. So she used to, back then, cocaine used to cost $15,000 a key. So she used to buy a key, take all the big rocks out, and take them in, crush them up, and then filter them in and take some of the tobacco out the cigarette and fill them in the cigarette, put them back in the packs, put them back and have a carton for it. And she just smoke until she get tired.
Remade cocaine zippers.
Yeah. So the other powder and the rest of the little rocks, she would sell it to a guy, to a friend of mine. She would sell it to a friend of mine. So a friend of mine's girl got in trouble. When she got in trouble, the agent asked about me, because everybody that would get arrested, they would ask about the Davis. Well, Reginald, this Davis. And so she said, yeah, he come to the Ann Arbor area every Christmas to give his kids money. And that's how it started, If it wasn't for her saying that, I'd still be on the run.
So they came into the room and...
So this is what they did, no? It just so happened they came to the hotel I was in, the Sheraton, to rendezvous. It was about 7, 8 agents to see how they was gonna come get me over in Ann Arbor. I'm over at the other hotel. They thought I was at the other hotel. They didn't know I was in Sheridan. They thought I was with my wife. I'm talking about. I only saw my wife at night. After she get through doing her thing, I would see her at night, and I would go back to the Sheridan and stay. So they came to the Sheridan to see, how they do it, gather and see, to get this plan together, how they gonna get this guy. And they had me as the one of them, the dangerous guy and all that. And I ain't got no violence in my record, none at all. Not saying I'm not a dangerous guy, but they was saying. But anyway, I was on the phone, using the phone. I forgot who I was calling. I was on the phone and I saw a guy. I just saw a black guy. He came and looked at me, and then he left. Then I saw another guy, a white guy, come back. He looked at me, then he left. Then I saw a third guy look at me, then he left. Then I saw the black guy come back, say, what's your name? I said, my name is Charles Johnson. He said, show me some ID. I showed him some license, some real license in Charles Johnson. So he said, you Charles Johnson, you look like a Davis. I said, I don't know no Davis. I said, who is Davis? I don't remember no Davis. So he said, wait a minute. He went, I think he called his supervisor. That's what I think. I'm just guessing because he went and made a phone call. So his supervisor must have told him, don't let that guy go. Don't let him go until you know exactly who he is. So what they did was, they said, we don't have to put you under arrest. I said, I'm under arrest. What's I'm under arrest for? They said, because we think you Reginald Davis. You're not Charles Johnson. I said, I just showed you legitimate ID, license, that said I'm Charles Johnson, and credit cards and all kind of stuff. Showing them I'm Charles Johnson. They said, but we're not letting you go. In fact, we finna take you back over to the Hilton where this girl is. And we're going to ask her who you are. You know? So they took me back over there where Michaela was. And when they went there, the door was already open. So they asked her, who is this guy? So she said, that's Charles. That's Charles. You know, so they still didn't believe it. So they told one of the guys, search the room. So they searched the room. In my wife's luggage, they found a kilo of cocaine. In her gown, they searched her, they found a big rock. She was getting ready to crush it down. You know? So they picked the cocaine out the bag and they said, we got some here. Whose is this? I said, that's mine. She ain't got nothing to do with it, that's mine. So I took the weight, confessed to it, and they arrested me, and then they took me down to the bullpen. So when I went in the bullpen, they kept, some more agents just kept coming looking at me. They kept staring at me, looking at me. So I was waiting on Mann. They let me make a phone call to call Robert Mann. So I called Mann. So Mann came, said, you can go and tell him who he is, because they're not letting you go. They're not letting you go. And don't even worry about the case, because the arrest warrant that they had for you wasn't you, it was for your brother Juro. So we're going to beat it on the fruits of the poison tree doctrine, and we're going to beat it. So don't even worry about none of that. We good. So I told him, I went on and told him I was Reginald Davis, and they fingerprinted me, said, and did their little thing and all that. So we was getting ready to go to trial on the 57 count 848.
And for those who don't know what an 848 is,
848 is continued criminal enterprise. You get up to life. If you kill a government witness, you can get the death penalty.
and it's the highest charge.
It's the highest charge for a drug dealer. It's the highest charge. So
Bigger than a RICO or a can.
bigger than a RICO. Yeah. So Mann filed a motion that we was going to go with the 57 count 848 because he knew he wasn't me. He was my other brother. And he knew we was going to beat it. But what the judge told him, judge said, we're not going with the 57 count 848. We going with the Ann Arbor case. We going with that one first. So Mann said, well, the 57 count 848 is the old case. Let's take care of the old case, then go to the new case. They said, So Mann said, what's your ruling? He said, what best served the interest of justice? We're going with the Ann Arbor case. So nothing we could do. So we went to trial. I stayed in the Wayne County waiting on trial for about a year.
Ooh, that's uncomfortable, boys.
No, I was good there because I knew the sheriff. I knew what's his name. I was getting everybody in my cubicle. I was getting them hot breakfast. Because back then he was getting bologna sandwiches. I was getting them eggs, everything, because I knew the sheriff.
Oh, Lucas?
No, it wasn't Lucas. It was what's his name? Damn, I can't think of his name. He got a funny name. But I knew him through another girl. And he made sure I had hot breakfast. And I said, I'm not going to just have hot breakfast and them guys eating bologna sandwiches. You like to give all them hot breakfast. So he had them to bring everybody in my everything. Everybody in my little cell.
Every day.
Every day. Every day while I was there. Then I made him put shower curtains up to all the things where you take a shower, because the showers was wide open.
Yeah.
So I had a good time when I was in there. I didn't know I did my thing.
Smoking any marijuana?
No, I don't smoke weed.
Okay. That's what we were doing to pass the time. Drinking?
I'm going to tell you what my high was. My high was this. When I knew that in a week to 10 days, I had $4 million. I used to stay up on the natural until I was through, until I had all that money. That money was my high. That was a natural high to me to have that kind of money. You know what I'm talking about? That's what kept me up. I didn't use cocaine. I didn't do none of that. You know what I'm talking about? It was just that thrill is like the endorphins, the endorphins in you just keep you up. I wouldn't go to sleep until all the product was gone and the money was there. You know what I'm talking about?
I was fall asleep.
Then I would crash. I would truly.
It was like being on a drug.
Yeah, I was crash.
Money was the drug.
Yeah. Money was the drug. The money, I was addicted to money. That's what it was. I was addicted to money by the influence I got from my uncle and them saying them with so much money. That influenced it. And he didn't want me in the game at all, my uncle. He wanted me to be a lawyer, but
So you ended up with they kind of did you bad at sentencing, and you.
no, what they did at sentencing, let me tell you what they did. Okay. They took that 1 kilo of cocaine. And back then, it was never heard of nobody getting 45 years back then. No, it was nobody. That's for nothing. It was the YBIs. They only got 15. The ponies only got
7 or something.
Yeah, nobody got
12, and that was the most anyway.
Yeah, they wasn't giving out big time back then. So what they did was, they got tired of us beating them because we beat them 5 times. We beat the federal government 5 times. So they got tired of us beating them. So what they did was, they said, me and my girl conspired to bring that 1 kilo to Ann Arbor. The statute is 15 years. They said that rock that was in her gown that I delivered to her, possession with attempt to deliver, that's 15 years. Then they said, I conspired to bring a kilo of cocaine for distribution to the Ann Arbor area. That's 15 years. So the judge, instead of when you have one act that happened at the same time, the same act with the same people, they usually run it concurrent. The judge ran it 15 to 15. They had a 45-year sentence under the old law. But under the old law, if you got 20 years to life, you only do 10. If you're a first offender, I was a first offender. You only do 10. So the judge, at that time, when I got sentenced, he told the marshal to take me back. Then he called back. He brought me back after I was in the bullpen. He sent for me, and I went back in front of him, and he said, I forgot something. I'm giving you a B1 number, and I'm stipulating your eligibility date. You're not to be released until 15 years, which was illegal, because you do 10 anyway. But I was going to do the guidelines. I only was going to do 24 to 36 months. If he hadn't stipulated that eligibility date, I would have been out in 36 months. Because back then, a kilo of powder cocaine wasn't for 5 years. You know what I'm talking about? So they gave me 45-year sentence for 1 kilo of cocaine.
But some of that got rolled back.
Well, I went to appeal and got the 5 years off, only did 10. Only did 10 years.
So we will, since obviously that time, you've been healthy, wealthy, and wise. I mean, and haven't gotten any more trouble.
No, that's not true.
Oh.
I did something stupid one time.
A misunderstanding? What was that?
I did something stupid. I did. It's being Superman, just, being Daredevil.
Did you have to go back to prison, or?
Yeah, I went back to prison for 36 months.
Well, how long ago was that?
About, how long was that? 2012?
Oh, you just got out a couple years ago.
No, not a couple years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so you went in like 2012, got out in 2015.
Right. And then prior to that, I did something that we retarded too. So, but I didn't go to jail. I got out on bond. I was under one of the assumed names. I got out on bond and I was gone.
Allegedly. Well, we won't even. Don't worry, that'll be deleted.
No. Don't worry about that because it's
in the wing.
He is in the wing.
Okay, well I'd say that's pretty awesome for now. That's plenty.
Yeah. Okay.
Great on camera. Explosive like I thought.
Yeah.